Welcome to the ACS podcast family.
We're your hosts, Angie and Charlene.
Where every week you can find new material centered around your life.
Thanks for joining us on our journey. Welcome back. We are in week 3 of gratitude. We're on episode 16. And since we are so close to Thanksgiving, we're going to talk a little bit about giving back and how that kind of relates to gratitude this week, right?
Yes, absolutely. The give and take season or the giving back season is upon us. It is really common this time of year. There's a ton of different drives and there's a ton of ways to help out and get involved in the community and really get involved in those volunteer organizations. So kind of starting and talking about those opportunities. I don't know about your community, but here one of my favorite ways to get involved is with the banquet over the holidays.
I love that. We did that one last year. The thing with the banquet is, if you think that you want to serve at the banquet, you need to sign up ahead of time, especially at this time of year, because everybody wants to help this time of year.
That's true. And the banquet, a lot of times you have to be involved with a group or an organization. I'm actually lucky enough to be able to go with my former coworkers with the job that I used to have, and I'll volunteer with them. But I also want to remind people that this time of year, everybody puts their giving hat on. Everybody is in the spirit of the season, and that it doesn't need to end just because the season is over. There's opportunities to give back all year long. So something that you can do is maybe find an opportunity or an organization this time of year and then make a commitment to continue with that.
Yes. I just raised my hand like I was in church. I'm sorry. But it really is making that commitment that needs to happen, because we can't be feast or famine with our giving.
That leads to a feast or famine in all other areas of our lives, right? Mm-hmm. Think about that. You have to give in order to receive. And I know that sounds a little bit counterintuitive, because we look at something and say, well, when I have the money in my checking account, then I'll give. Mm-hmm. Then I'll give to my church. Then I'll give to a nonprofit organization. When I have more time, then I'll volunteer. Then I'll go do that. But you think about it, if you want to start a fire, if you want to get heat, you have to give the fire wood. You have to give it fuel before it's going to give you heat. In all things in life, you have to give before you receive. You have to put that effort in first. And so this is a great way to get your foot in the door. This is a really great time of year because there's lots of organizations advertising and looking for help, because everybody has that hat on. But then it's also a great way to stay involved all year long if you find that organization that you're passionate about.
Absolutely. Make a commitment.
Talking about giving and having to give in order to receive. I think we talked a little bit about how receiving can be a form of giving too.
Right, especially if you were giving to somebody whose love language that is. So, I have a friend, I think we've talked about it on here before, but she's stopped me and said that I've stopped her from getting joy because I wouldn't take money from her for something that I was trying to give to her. So, it just opened my eyes. I had that aha moment. I was like, give me your money because I want you to be happy. But then you can do something else with that money. I don't have to take it and go buy myself something. I can take that money and then go give it to somebody standing on the street corner who needs, a meal that night. I can take it and I can keep passing it forward.
Pay it forward. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, you can absolutely pay it forward. And thinking about paying it forward and how you can receive, opening yourself up to just the joy of receiving and to being aware of all the ways or all the opportunities that you have to be open to receiving. And you can do that when you are giving freely. When you're giving freely of your time, of your money, of, whatever resources you have with no expectation.
Right.
Because just because you give to the person behind you in the drive-through line doesn't mean that you're going to receive from them. It's not an equal trade. It's not because I give to you, you have to give to me. but it's I'm giving to the community. I'm putting good out into the world. And as a result, good is going to come to me.
Right. And don't just give to the person in the back of the drive-through line this time of year. Think about that too. I mean, I don't know if I'm just a weird person, but I give when I feel like something moving me to give. So like this summer, we were in the drive-through at McDonald's and I made my kids order off the dollar menu because I was like, we are at the end of our budget. And something said to get the food behind me. And I have no idea why. And mind you, my kids are in the car and I just told them they each had $3. Pick something off. And then I paid for the guy's food behind me. And they were like, what? They could have gotten their Big Mac meal if I had that, but something inside of me said to do it. I had the money. It was there. It was available. And for whatever that reason was, and maybe it wasn't the guy behind me, maybe he's going to do something. Maybe I changed his day and, something's going to happen in the universe that is God's plan. And it could have just started with that. I don't go out and my husband likes to go pay for somebody's gas or go do something. Like he gets in this like mood and he's like, he's just going to give it all away that day. And I'm like, I'm not going with you. That sounds expensive. But again, like when you feel it, when you feel that, listen to it. Even if it's just your time, even if somebody says, hey, can you help me move? And you feel like I could, but that's going to take up my Netflix binging day. Like, go help.
Put Netflix on hold because that'll make you feel better about yourself, about doing something good for somebody else. It will fill you with that feeling of gratitude. And that's what it's all about. We want to cultivate that feeling of gratitude, not just an attitude of gratitude, but we really want to get into that feeling. So that's kind of why we're talking about giving so much today, is because giving back helps fuel that feeling inside of us.
Absolutely. So in the Bible, and not everything's going to be a church lesson, but in the Bible, there is a story about the guy who gave a lot of money to church. And then there was a woman who gave her last like 3 shillings. And they said, who gave more? And they're like, well, the guy who gave a ton of money. And really it was the woman who gave everything she had. She only had 3 shillings. So like that's it. It's been saying that since the beginning of, well, when I start measuring time, the beginning of time of you give all you can. And then you're going to receive so much more.
Yes, your blessings. You will receive so many more blessings when you're giving. And that leads to another thought process. We're talking about giving. Mm-hmm. But when you go to the grocery store and you're buying your groceries, that, if you're cultivating the feeling of giving, that can be giving. You're giving the store your business. You're giving those employees a job. You might have an exchange with the clerk that's helping you, the checkout clerk, and you might be giving her a smile that day. It's an opportunity for giving. You're going in to spend your money, and yes, you're going to come home with a car full of groceries, but you're still giving. So if you look at all of your exchanges, what are you giving? Where are you giving your money? Where are you giving your time? Where are you giving your resources? What gifts are you bringing into this world, and how are you giving as you go throughout your day?
Having an aha moment, sorry. I think it's really great to think about things like that. Like, I've always thought, yeah, I'm giving the person a job that's there, but I never really thought about like how my interactions with them can make or break a day. But I've been on the receiving end of somebody's actions making or breaking my day.
Going back to a conversation, I think we've talked about it on here. I know I've talked about it on the podcast before, but we talk about picking out the best part of your day.
Yes.
Picking out the best interactions of your day. Mm-hmm. And often when I am talking with Damon, he will pick out those individual moments, those specific interactions with people, and he'll sit and reflect on them. And he might not have realized that they were the best parts of his day as he was going through them, but they often become the best part of his day. And as a result, I've actually had many aha moments in there, and it's become part of my practice too. Who did I interact with today? How did that make me feel? Whose day did I make better? How did I give back? How was I able to help? And even who helped me? What did I receive? And where did that come from? Really getting into that state of, it's really amazing how interconnected we all are and how those tiny, tiny interactions that we don't even think about can make somebody's day.
I keep thinking about my husband again now. He's stuck in my head because he is like the king of making somebody's day. Like he goes to the grocery store, he'll see your name tag and he's like, hey, Angie, how's your day going? Is this the beginning of your shift? Is it the end of your shift? And my kids are like, oh, stop talking to people. And I'm like, you didn't say her name right. In my, whatever it was. And sometimes they look at him like he's like crazy because they had 100 people come through their line and nobody acknowledged them as a human being. They're just the checkout person at the grocery store.
Have you ever read Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People?
No.
So should read it.
Yeah.
Library has the audiobook. You can check it out and listen to it. It's an older book, but it's totally relevant and still valid. And in the book, he talks about how a person's favorite sound is the sound of their own name.
Oh. Okay.
So just by saying their name, it makes them feel validated. It gives them the warm fuzzies, right?
Right.
And so when they're talking about how to win friends and influence people and how that applies to business, remembering and acknowledging somebody by their name is hugely important. So I think it's really cool that your husband does that.
To everybody, all the time.
That's actually one of the things that I will make my clients do or assign to my clients. I don't make them do anything. The choice is theirs. But one of their assignments is when they go out, especially at a restaurant, a lot of times it's commonplace for the wait staff to come and tell you their name when they're waiting on you. Right. However, if they don't, the challenge is always to learn the name of your wait staff and use it in conversation.
Oh.
Just to start, again, when you're building relationships and learning what it means to build relationships and be authentic with people, it's really important that you acknowledge who they are as a person, that they are more than the person serving you. Like, what are you giving to them? Why are you there? Not necessarily what are they giving to you. They are there to wait on you. That is their job. But what are you giving to them? What are you giving to that establishment? What are you contributing to that interaction? Because everybody comes into our lives for a reason.
They do. I keep thinking of how many church friends have, and I am not bold enough to do this, but ask their wait staff. And not every single person, but like, can I pray for you? Is there something heavy on your heart that I can help you with? And it's usually those moments where they like break down crying because their car broke down on the way there. They're behind on rent, like the whole world is crashing down around them and they're serving you with a smile that somebody acknowledged that their vibe or their energy wasn't really, spot on. They didn't do anything wrong. They weren't rude. They weren't anything, but they were just not where they needed to be, in that moment, and somebody to stop and say, stop the world or, the universe or however you want to talk about it. How can I help you at this moment? Like, how can I change what's going on for you? And it doesn't mean give them more money. Like, those stories are always great, but not everybody needs money. Sometimes they need a human being.
Yes. So I don't remember all of the details of it. So I will find it and I will post it in the blog post. When we turn this into a blog post, I'll post all the details. But there is a story, a study, something where they talk about going into a restaurant and talking with the servers and challenging the servers to bless the customers before they go out and serve them. Don't change anything else about your routine. Don't change anything else about your interaction. The customer doesn't know that you're doing this, but the wait staff was challenged to bless their customers. And the percentage of increase that they received back monetarily was insane. It was over a 15% increase.
Really?
Yeah.
That's amazing. When you think about it, though, you at the end of your check, at least here in America, you are expected to give. You are already in that mindset of a tip. If they do something that makes you feel valued or loved or respected or just happy, you're going to give more. So it makes sense.
Right. It totally makes sense that, because again, we go back to talking about energy And it changes the energy of the interaction when you stop to pass a blessing on beforehand, even if they don't know it. So if you're not bold enough to ask if you can pray for somebody, you can always pass that blessing on. You can still have that silent blessing for your server. And so that's what the servers were asked to do for their customers, was just have that silent blessing beforehand. And so I thought that was crazy. But like I said, I'll pass along all of the details in the blog post because I don't have everything in front of me here.
I think that's a great idea.
Have you ever seen those 30-day challenges?
Which ones?
Well, right. I guess I should have
I gave up eating for 30 days. No, I'm just kidding. Everybody does.
No.
You know what I mean.
Yeah, but usually the Christmas ones, the December, like kill it with kindness for 30 days or, you know, those, what can I do today to give back or be kind to somebody else? And it's go pay somebody else's parking meter or go put a nice note saying something nice about somebody on their car window or something along those lines. It's very popular this time of year, but that's always something that you can do too, to get into that mode of giving and get into that mode of giving a blessing. I've read about it in several books, and in one of them it's referred to as a 5-minute favor.
Oh, okay.
Something that you can do every day for 30 days that takes less than 5 minutes. Having a blessing is something that you can definitely add to a 5-minute favor. Can you give somebody else a blessing in 5 minutes or less?
That's a great idea. Or when you just said that, I mean, this is going to sound terrible, but we buy store-bought cookies for our neighbors right after Thanksgiving, Christmas, whenever I find them on sale, if I'm being honest. And then I let my kids ding-dong ditch our neighbors' houses.
Oh, that's so much fun.
I don't want that weird, like, great, you bought me a cookie thing and, you know, everybody's different about, you know, I don't know what they're allergic to or whatnot. So I don't want to go around and ask people like, hey, can you have nuts in your cookies? Great. I can't cook for you, but I can cook for you. So we just buy tins and then let them ding-dong ditch. So they don't even know who it's coming from, but every year they get like some, yeah, you might know now.
Now they know.
If you're listening.
And if you're not, you should be, because then you'd know.
Exactly. Maybe I'll ding-dong ditch like the podcast.
Want to know
who it is. But they love doing that. And it's kind of, you know, in October, they boo people. Have you ever heard about that?
No.
So we boo people. We get a gift bag and we put like a bunch of random things in it for Halloween. And we leave it on somebody's doorstep and we ding-dong ditch them and it says, you've been booed. And then once you get booed, you hang, like it comes with a sign that says, I've been booed. So you put it on your door so then all the other neighbors know that, you know, not to boo that house. But then your challenge is to then boo 2 more people. That's like on a little card that's in the bag. So then they boo it and then you just see all these little ghosts hanging on everybody's doors because we all gave each other gifts.
I love that idea. I've never heard of that one before.
There's one for Christmas for elfing people.
Elf on a Shelf.
Elf on the Shelf. No, I'm not talking about that. That thing's, that's a whole nother podcast. For sure. But for elfing somebody, it's essentially that's where we got the ding dong ditch for the cookies. Because essentially that's what you do, but you do a good favor. Like you become a little elf and you do something like you get up really early and shovel your neighbor's walk. And then make sure you get yours done so they don't know that you're the one who did it. Like they wake up and this little elf, you know, did something good and happy.
That's awesome. I love that. So do you have one that you do like for all the holidays? Like it'd be really cool to make a tradition of doing something like that all year long.
Yeah.
For each of the major holidays.
I think that at least for our family, like we start decorating for fall in September and then, you know, Halloween comes and then we bring it back to fall for Thanksgiving and then Christmas comes and then I am like so exhausted from all that we do that I'm not gonna lie, we don't decorate for any other holiday or do anything for any other holiday. It's like September through January and then we're done.
That's funny.
Sometimes they're lucky and they get balloons on their birthday if it's a big birthday. But no, we really, that's a good idea though to, you know, like we said in the beginning of this podcast, to do it all year long. To
bring the tradition of giving and to cultivate that attitude, to cultivate that feeling, to really bring that home consistently. It'd be kind of cool to have something for each season. It doesn't have to be monthly. It doesn't have to be like September to January. Again, it's very packed. But then you think you don't really have another one. You have something for Valentine's Day. So then there's a little something in February. And then maybe Easter and then the 4th of July. And that kind of breaks it up a little bit. So you've got a couple of months between things where you're not putting a lot of effort into it. But it's kind of a...
That's a great idea to do with the kids. And it'll just get them into the habit of giving.
Right.
My neighbors are going to be so annoyed with it, though. We're going to have to pick different neighbors each time.
I don't think your neighbors will be annoyed with it.
No.
I wouldn't be. It's like a fun surprise. And...
Well, did you ever do Mayday baskets?
Yes.
Okay.
I love Mayday baskets.
I have a funny story. So my neighbor, Mr. Rogers, which his name was Roger, so when I was little I called him Mr. Rogers. He worked nights, but I didn't know that because I was a kid. And I wanted him to have a Mayday basket of all of the weeds I picked from his front yard. So I picked all of the weeds and put it in this basket, and I mean, it was a lot. And he wouldn't answer the door, so I just kept on ding-donging and running and ding-donging and running because I knew he was home. His truck was in the driveway. And then he opened the door I was so scared. That was the last time I gave anybody a May basket.
Oh.
Well, it was weeds too, so I think I was 8. It was traumatic.
Oh,
I'm sure my mom had a great time with it, though, because I was gone for a good 2 hours picking them all.
Picking all the weeds out of his front yard. It was the
dandelion, so it was a good mix. It was a good bouquet of the yellow and the white and the fluffies.
Right? That's perfect. That's perfect. We used to do Mayday baskets, but we did candy. My grandma used to buy the little Footsies Tootsie Rolls. Oh. And we'd put the Tootsie Rolls in the baskets and...
That's cute.
Go do the Mayday baskets with those.
Yeah. See? There is really one for each.
There is.
Each holiday.
So that's a total side tangent and kind of got off on that. But talking about how to make it fun. Going back to, we've talked about making sure that we're having fun in our lives before. That's a fun way to...
It is a fun way.
Get into giving, to help your kids get into giving, to do it as a family and to bring that all together. So hopefully you like some of our ideas and can incorporate some of that. But really the whole point is to just remember that giving is important in cultivating that gratitude and to cultivating that positive outlook on life. And that's where you're really going to fill yourself up. So how can you practice giving on a daily basis, even when you're just getting groceries?
You could give to us right now by clicking on the subscribe button. And we will see you next week.
And the journey's not over. Make sure that you like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with the latest content and episodes.
We love each and every one of you in our tribe, and we want to celebrate your successes alongside you. Share them with us at ACS Podcast on Facebook.